And first of all, thanks for Paul's and Tsao Foundation's invitation. I'm really honored to share my views. I think just like Professor Dr. Tata has just mentioned, we started this conversation last year in one of the Escape events, and then we believe this would be a very important angle for us to understand the super aging and also how, aging can be more constructively, meaningfully understood and also explained in the world. My view is kind of more preliminary, and I hope that my sharing could actually introduce more talks, more discussion, and more engagement by multi-sectors. And I will go through... next, please. It seems doesn't work yet. According, I think, to a recent global report, it is believed that no single generation can tackle today's global challenge alone. So multi-generation, cross-generation, intergeneration is a fact. So it is just like aging. Actually, aging is a fact. If we frame it as a problem, it will be a problem. I think this is the same for intergeneration. If we frame it as a problem, it would definitely be a problem. But if we frame it as a challenge, as an opportunity, it will become an opportunity. So this is how powerful it is by using words. I will mention it again in terms of ageism. I think here we have to really believe over the history that language plays a very significant role. That's why, just like Paul just mentioned, we have to reframing aging. And then next step is reframing intergenerational. So what are the things that we should reframing? Next, please. Next. First, of course, because Dr. Tata has already mentioned all these demographic changes, I will skip. But the issue here is, in this demographic changing world, next. So how we are now living? I think we are living in an age-segregated life. Why I say that? The digital divide, and then make our younger generation, they are actually digital. I would say they are actually born in the digital and grow up in the digital. But our old generation, they are kind of try to run and chase up for everything, So like me, myself, I'm not really good at digital. So I have to learn new skills and for the phone, for all the AI, all these things, So we are living in a digital divide world. So in the workforce, in the life, in the community, these are all segregated. And then in families, we are kind of living apart, and then in different countries, different cities, and that actually makes our life even less intergenerational because we are kind of less likely to meet each other, less likely to communicate, less likely to really sharing heart to heart. 中国人说是什么谈心 It's not just say, did you get your lunch? Did you get your breakfast? It is 谈心, that is heart to heart. And how we can use digital to heart. Maybe it is easy or maybe it is challenging. I'm not sure. So we are actually living in a family. But then in a community, we set up services for older adults. We set up services for adults. We set up services for young and children. We set up services for mother and infants. So people just like, if you have any needs, you go to different doors, right? So you're not going to one door to solve, to meet your needs. You go to different doors, even you live in one family. So actually, age segregation is everywhere. It's in the family, it's in the workplace, it's in a digital world, it's in a community. Next, please. So one of the key issues for all these age-segregated life is about age stereotype. I think we have just the presentation before the break has mentioned that already. I would not mention. But the impact is the weakened intergenerational solidarity. Next, please. So what would be the greater impact of that? Can we have a video? This video is about anti-ageism. Just click again. The video will come. Doesn't come? Oh. That is... doesn't work? Okay, we just skip the video, okay? The video is about if you only focus on age, that will create a lot of trouble for us from the multi-generation. Oh, it works? That's great. That's the challenge for technology. Okay, so it doesn't matter. Okay, just we continue for the slides. Yeah. So the video is actually, oh yeah, then it works. You can.
So what's this all about?
Can say it again? I'm too old for this.
You just want me to say what people say about me. Weird question, I guess.
My teacher says you'll go out of it. It's just a phase.
It was never a phase. I never grew out of it.
Gets him too reckless, I don't know.
People like to talk very loudly to me.
They say I don't think things through.
You're looking still good for your age.
I'll figure it out when I'm older.
You are having a senior moment.
When the focus is on my age, life seems to get a little bit harder.
It feels like I'm not given a chance.
I need to keep up.
Oh, get out of the way. I lack experience.
Or too much experience.
I'm baggage.
Only weighing people down.
Looking at my age like it is a disease.
Where I work, no one takes me serious.
It makes me feel powerless.
And it hurts.
When people see only my age. Thanks to them.
So when age does not define you, define me, and define us, what would be the next? Let's move back to the slides. Thank you. Stop. Yeah. So the next is we have to fight against ageism. So ageism is everywhere. And one of the things that really opened my mind is based on research that actually conducted by one of the Singapore scholar, Ruben. And next, please. And he did a study on, next, please. Yeah, he did a study on the impact of aging policy on ageism. So what is your guess? You guess that if we have a very good aging policy, our ageism would decrease, right? No? So you have a very good sense. Actually, when we have a aging policy that is very medicalized, for example, we enhance the medical expenses. We put people say, okay, old people deserve more and more medical resources, this, that. The ageism increased, actually. So when we try to do policy, we have to be very mindful about how we frame the issue. So what is the issue? If the issue is about healthcare, everyone deserves good healthcare, just like Dr. Tata has mentioned, right? Universal healthcare is a very important thing. When we talk about long-term care, so does it mean that only old people need long-term care? No, definitely not. We have young people. We even have infants who actually suffered from disability. So they also deserve long-term care. So link all these to age only doesn't make any sense. But we cannot deny that maybe the majority of the service recipients or all these programs, policies, they tended to be older, So here we have to be very careful. So this is the most important signal and then the most significant issue for us to go for intergenerational solidarity, equity. That is to fight against ageism. And we say no to age defines you, defines me, defines us, right? So age does not define us. So then what is next? Next, please. So then we have to move to the context. What are the key contexts for intergenerational? I put 3. Family, of course, including school, and then workforce and the community. Next, please. So when we talk about family, it's in Asia context, we always talk about filial responsibility. And nowadays, just like the panel have just discussed, it's about care partner. So let's look at details of that. Next, please. So this is a social contract about filial piety, filial responsibility, And then next, this is our traditional. But what would be the new one? Next, please. The new one is we want to have more, we call it reciprocal filial piety or filial bonds. That is not only we hope that the younger generation would do more towards the old, and also we want the old to do something for the young. Next, please. So this is we call a bowl of soap distance, right? What's that? That means even though we live apart, we want to be bonded, connected, and we can 谈心, we can actually talk heart to heart, right? So this is very important things to balance how we can be independent. We can live in our own apartment, but at the same time, we can have interdependency. We can have emotional attachment, bonding, and connectedness, and reciprocally support with each other when we are in need. Next, please. So this actually exactly happened in our 4 generations. We called it not nuclear family, but the extended family household. You can see that actually when we talk about sandwich or caregivers or sandwich generations, they're not only one generation that is sandwich. We can have 2 sandwich generations. We can have nowadays we can have the 60s and the 50s, and then we can have the 30s and 40s as well. Because they have their parents, grandparents, and then they have their children. For the 60s, they have their parents, that is the 90s, 100 centennials, and then they have their children and grandchildren. So this multi-generational complexity in the family setting create huge opportunities for us to think about how the reciprocalness, how the respectiveness can be achieved and practiced in this kind of setting. Right? Next, please. Then we move to the workforce. I treasure that questions already be raised in a panel discussion on how workforce can become more multi-generational friendly, I would say, So this depends on the values that we have to review and revisit. If we put seniority on age, that doesn't work. We have to put competence. It's not seniority. It is the competence. It is the skill. It is the really the intergenerational collaboration that works. Next, please. According to AARP study, the 4 generation or 5 generation workforce, it is here. It's already here. Of course, later on we have to add a new generation that is the robots. I don't know how we actually can generate them, but they are a new partner for us to work together, right? And then next, but in reality, only 6% of the employees already had policies related to unbiased recruitment measures and also the training opportunities and the work force arrangement and also communications, this and that. So this is the ideal thing and the reality. So in terms of that, we must actually advocate for more engagement of the commercial sectors, because they are also our government. Because in Hong Kong, actually, our government is the largest employer in Hong Kong, So we have to work closely with them to understand how intergenerational workforce can be a reality, not, in a very a strange way. They work together, but they don't talk. They only text or it just like my colleague, even though they sit next to each other, they don't talk. They just send email and then they just text, So this is actually for my age, my generation. I just couldn't really understand what happened to your guys. But this becomes a norm for them. So we have to work together on how we can be more constructive in workplace, next place. So we already understand, and based on research, the benefits of intergenerational inclusion in workforce. But recently, there's one thing that actually deserves a lot of attention. Next, please. That is, they called it reverse mentoring. What is reverse mentoring? Basically, traditionally, when we talk about mentoring, it is all about the seniors mentor the juniors, right? But now, as I said, age doesn't count. Does not the own solo counts. When competence counts, and then when we talk about mentoring, it is the one who has more greater competence when mentor one has less competence. So it does not relate to age. So mentoring become an interesting phenomenon since the young will mentor the old, especially in the IT-related industry. But I think since we have moved into an AI era, so any industry, we would have this reverse mentoring happening very, very frequently, and it deserves our attention as well. Next, please. Then we move to community. I would say in the community, we really have to build or create or enable opportunities for intergenerational resilience through co-learning, co-living, co-fun. And I really treasure the panelist discussion on the fun together part, right? We have to play together and then for our better future, how we can, work together for our better future. Next, please. Yeah. So here are some examples of intergenerational co-learning programs all over the world, not only in Asia, but also in other European, American, and all over the world. And I think one of the issues that we really have to think about is how we can better critically review the resources allocation and also how we can better allocate resources for intergenerational activities, including the co-learning activities. Actually, in Hong Kong, due to the low fertility or in the past 3 decades, a lot of schools, they are now facing close down, because we don't have enough children to do the schooling. But how the school facility can be actually renovated or shifted to a co-learning space? I think this is a very interesting topic to study. If we can better use these government resources or community resources, and then more people can be benefited, because now we have more and more old people. They don't have space to organize any learning activities in our elderly center. All of them, they have to do a lottery every month, because 100 people would like to organize activities, and then there's only 4 rooms every day, right? So how they can do? They do a lot of lottery. They do lottery, and then, this month, you 3 groups you can do. The next week, then another 3 groups. But then, on the other hand, we have all these abandoned primary schools in the community. No one uses it. because we don't have children to enter the school. So that is the issue, is we really have to think about how the resources can be reshuffled, and so that we can enable these co-learning things to happen. Next, please. And then I myself has initiated this German Infusion Education Campus Asian Mix projects for the university students. I actually train the older adults, the young old people. They come to the university to teach the university students. And they are very enthusiastic to do. And one of my friend actually established a social enterprise. And she actually trained these older adults be a very, very good storyteller. Because sometimes when you talk to an old people, and then the young people say, you talk too much. I really cannot, it's too long, So you're not focused, So one of my students, Natalie, she trained the old gingers, 老姜, okay? Yeah. And then they can actually deliver stories to fit different themes. When you want to talk about love, they can talk about the love stories. When you think, how about the health issues? And then they can talk about health issues. They chop into different themes, and then they can talk their stories in a very lovely way. And then they have a yellow color tone, and then they are very, very active in terms of doing that. Next, please.
Okay.
Next. Okay, so and then we move to the co-living spaces. I think a lot of our previous speakers has already mentioned that all over the world, we are actually trying to think about how the loneliness of people can be solved through these co-living activities. Sometimes it's the old people who feel lonely, and then they have extra rooms so that the young people can move in. But sometimes it is the residential area, like my parents, actually, they moved into a retirement village in Shanghai. And then nowadays, during all the summer vacation, winter vacation, since their residence rooms are not fully occupied, they have these summer schools of children. So they have children who are learning drawing, learning music, they're playing, practice, all these things. And then they move here for the 3 months so that they can just stay there, and then they are co-living. To work out these opportunities are very important. But this actually demands our policy, because many of the nursing homes, they have very strict rules. They said, okay, anyone who are lower than certain age, I dare not mention the age, okay? You cannot stay there overnight, except that you are the formal employees, because you are not allowed to stay in that space. It's according to regulations, rules, but I said, okay, all these regulations, they're set by humans. And then now our society is changing. We really deserve to think about all these, and in Chinese, we call it what? Break the walls, 拆墙松绑, huh? Okay, to make that happen, and to make the co-living happening in the community, in the nursing homes. Next, please. And then together we can have fun, I did one of the, I think, a very pioneer study in Hong Kong, and try to engage the old and young to find out sightseeing places for fun for both generations. And based on that, I developed the OQII model to work out, what are the key for us to engage the young and the old in the community. What I learned best is that we have to do a separate sessions before group them together. Because at the very beginning, if you group them together, they will have a lot of age discriminative attitude, stereotypes, and then they're not going to communicate heart to heart, 谈心, they're not going to do. So we have to do a comparatively speaking, we have to do a collaborative, deliberative process, and tell them, you might have stereotype towards young people, and how we can talk to young. But for the young, we tell them what is ageism and how you can overcome ageism. After that, we put them together. That works better. So this is my model. I have publications on that as well. If you are interested, I can send you. Next, please. So then, this is I think the most important thing is how we can enable the intergenerations to advocate for better future for all. I think this morning, Tsao Foundation has did a very good demonstration on how we can do this collaboratively. I think one of the example is WHO's age-friendly guideline development, because they actually engage both, different age group people to work out the age-friendly guideline. But very unfortunately, when this published, many people perceive this as old-friendly. It's not age-friendly. Actually, this is age-friendly. It does not relate to aging, but it's very unfortunate. Sometimes, these unintended consequences that create challenges for the policymakers as well as program developers as well. Next, please. So, one of the takeaway, as mentioned, that Tsao Foundation, you love C's, I love R's, So I have these 4 R's. One, I think, for intergenerational solidarity and equity, respect is the most important. I believe that in our Asian tradition, 尊重 is a real value, deep rooted. We understand, what does it mean 尊重 and how we can be 尊重 and 尊重他人. It's reciprocal. This is the next thing, how we can do the reciprocity. It's not about the old and the young. It's about we. It's about the mutual. So these are the second R. The third R is responsibility. Each generation has our own responsibility. We cannot just say, hey, you are the outdated. Oh, you are the lazy youngs. So these are not responsible. One of the responsibility for us is to create opportunities to build and nurture resilience. Actually, recently, I heard a very sad sharing by a young person. The young person said, I don't care about aging. And I asked, why you don't care about aging? Because everyone is aging. He said, I live my full until 60. After 60, I commit suicide. Yeah, this is literally what shared by that young person. That young person has graduated from university. He's not a person without education. So I reflect, hey, what is lacking? Maybe one thing we are really lacking is he is kind of lacking opportunities to understand what does it mean being 60. If, in his mind, being 60, you don't work, and then you don't earn money, and then you are very sick, and then you lost your mind because you are dementia, and then you deserve to die, right? So I don't think, if in his mind, 60 is an active aging, and then you can do volunteer, you can work, you can be caregiving, you can do all sorts of activities. I don't believe he is going to say that he is going to commit suicide on that day. So we have to create opportunities to build resilience. That is very important. Not to let any generations to consider aging or in any age is a burden to themselves, to the family, to the community, to the society. Next, please. So last but not least is call to act, right? So what are the calls? Of course, I think one thing is combat ageism. It doesn't matter, in your view, ageism is about 80 years old, 65 or 35 even, so we have to combat. We will not allow age to define us. Define you, define me, define us. The second thing is about enable intergenerational practices in the family, in the workforce, community, school. And then is the co-advocate, co-growth. I think we are growing every day, every minute, right? So how we can enable all the generations to grow towards a better future? I think this is a challenge for academics, for policymakers, for service providers, program designers, and even for each of us in our society. Of course, for all the researchers, I would highly recommend that we can do more research and development on these theorizing, on longitudinal data capturing, and also on innovation. So thank you very much. And this is my sharing. Yeah.